I'm obsessing over you. I'm obsessing over you.
Hey Cadillac fans, you may remember my video from last year where I showed you how to install side splitters on my Cadillac CTS. Those were the Puerto Rico splitters, or SPR splitters. And they did look great, but they just didn't last. So today I'm installing Savage Cadillac splitters. I'll give you a closer look and then show you how the install goes. The Savage splitters are packed well and ready to install out of the box, but that depends on how picky you are about the color and surface condition. In the raw form, they really don't look too bad. However, the black isn't quite as deep and glossy as paint would be, and you may find some irregularities from the molding process. I would give it a B- rating on the finish, but you shouldn't expect it to be perfect straight out of the mold. You can pay extra to have Savage paint the splitters for you, however, you do risk some paint marring in shipping. Savage paint is a great price, but if you want to guarantee the condition, you should either paint them yourself or have a body shop do it for you. Some sanding and filling may be necessary to get the surface perfect. Lastly, for an extra price, you could always have Savage make them in carbon fiber. You will also see that they come with a trim of 3M automotive adhesive. This is great as it helps keep the splitters tight up against your rocker panels. Now previously I had the SPR splitters. They looked good, but they seem kind of one-dimensional with little character. The Savage splitters have a 2-layer contour that has a more aggressive look, and it fits the lines of the CTS body well. I also like how they're strong and rigid. They'll surely hold up to the elements and of course passengers who catch them with their foot. I don't know what the PR splitters were made of, but they seem to be a dense foam core wrapped in a thin layer of plastic, making them easily damaged or flexed. The Savage splitters are rigid and they're as much as 1.75 inches thick, while the SPR splitters, they were only a 1/4 inch thick. I received mine in the raw form, as you can see with the irregularities. To make them look good, I'm going to wrap mine in gloss black vinyl from 3M. It's definitely cheaper than paint, and since I know they'll be taking a beating being so close to the road, it's no problem if I ever just want to rewrap them after they start looking bad. It only takes a couple hours. You'll need 8 feet of wrap, which usually only comes in a 5-foot wide section, so you'll have plenty left over for other projects. That's about $80 for an 8 by 5 foot wrap. Although it's not super apparent in the video, you can see that the vinyl is a much deeper, smoother gloss black than the raw fiberglass form, so it was definitely an improvement and definitely worth it. Next, I'll ceramic coat the splitters. You can totally do this yourself. It's actually pretty easy since you've got fresh paint or fresh vinyl. I use C-Quartz 3.0 by CarPro. It's one of the leading consumer grade ceramic coatings available. All you need to do is wipe it on in a grid pattern, and then buff it off after about a minute or two. You'll know when it's time to buff it off because it will flash or get this oil slick look, as you can see here. You may think you've buffed it all smooth, but then take it out into maybe the daylight and you'll definitely see that you missed some spots. So make sure you transfer between different light to ensure you got it all. Also, if you get any water on it in the first 24 hours, make sure you immediately wipe it off. Now your splitters will have an extra gloss, depth, and they'll be easier to clean. This is great for when people accidentally scuff them getting in and out of the car, and they're great for me when I hit cones at autocross. One thing I'd like to see changed in future versions is the driver's side actually needs a little trimming to ensure that your jack points are clear. Here I'm on the passenger side, identifying that the passenger side is actually totally clear of the jacking points. To trim the driver's side jack points, I basically just lined up the splitter underneath and then used a marker to identify how much I needed to cut out. Once you've identified the areas that you need to remove, just use a Dremel cutoff wheel or maybe an angle grinder or even just a hacksaw to cut those pieces out. Be sure to use a ventilator, as breathing fiberglass is not a good idea. You don't have to do this, but you do risk that if some shop tries to lift your car, they'll crush the splitter and crack it. I raised my car up a lot, changing tires and such, so I really wanted this modification done. Alright, now the splitters are ready, let me show you how to do the install. To do this installation, you really only need a couple of tools. You need a jack and jack stands, as well as some type of screwdriver, preferably one with power. To raise the vehicle, I raised it at the front jacking point and then put a jack stand under the pad below the engine. I put another jack stand ahead of the rear wheel at the jack point, but just inside the pinch weld so it'll be out of the way while I position the splitter. First, you need to remove the rear tire deflector just ahead of the rear tire. Mine is on with some 7mm hex screws, but on the other side I actually had some Torx screws, so I'm not sure what's original on the car. Now you could leave this in place and cut a notch out like I did before for my PR splitters, or you can just remove them completely. They're not really that necessary. Just ahead of where the tire deflector mounts is this little ridge in the rocker panel. It's made of plastic and it kind of gets in the way of the splitter. Now the splitter can be mounted with it there. It will sort of flex around it, but I decided to go ahead and grind it off for an absolutely smooth attachment point. Now before installing your splitters, you'll want to make sure your rocker panels are completely clean so the 3M tape can adhere well. Just use an isopropyl alcohol solution to wipe them down. Since I didn't have a helper, I just balanced the splitter on my jack and then approached the vehicle with it to sort of set it in place. This is really helpful when you don't have any extra help. Then just adjust the splitter so it's flush at each fender. Now theoretically you could pull off that 3M adhesive backing and just stick the splitters on, but I was afraid that in the process of the screws going in through the bottom, it would pull the splitters away from the rocker panel and maybe things wouldn't line up. So I just loosened up some of the backing so I'd have something to grab a little later. And then I went ahead and used the screws to loosely put in each end of the splitter. This way I knew exactly where the screw holes would be that would keep it flush against the rocker panel. Once the splitters were almost tightened down, I grabbed the backing of the 3M tape and just pulled it off. Once I'd done that, I can tighten down the screws to the splitter and press the 3M adhesive to the rocker panel. When applying the 3M adhesive, be sure to press and hold for about 20 seconds per section. That really makes sure that it sticks well to the rocker panel. In all, I put in 5 screws straight up to the bottom where there were pre-drilled holes in the splitters. Now, Savage gives you the option of adding extra screws at an angle into the rocker panel. I chose not to do this because if I ever remove the splitters, I have a feeling I'll be able to see the holes in the rocker panel even when looking at the car from the side. So just the 5 underneath, and if you want to do some more that are straight up underneath, go ahead and drill some more through the splitter and into the rocker panel. After you've completed your install, it's time to lower the vehicle. However, you need to watch out. The splitters now lower your vehicle by about 1.75 inches, so I may suggest putting a piece of wood under your front wheel like I did to ensure that the splitters don't come down and get crushed between the car and the jack. Now just repeat the procedure for the other side, and then you can appreciate the new look of your car. Be sure to get that Savage front splitter and the rear diffuser to really complete the package, and your car will be looking great. Alright, that's it for installing the Savage Cadillac side splitters. I have to say they look amazing on the car. Now, I want to thank Oliver at Savage Industry Designs for all of his hard work in getting appearance mods for the Cadillac CTS. No one else seems to want to do it, so he's at it, and I think everyone really likes his products. Also, he makes parts for the CT6 and ATS as well, and maybe other cars in the future, so good job, Oliver, on all your hard work. Otherwise, if now you think you can install these side splitters yourself just because of my video, hit that like button, please. And I love your subscriptions. And if you want to be notified of when my next video comes out, you know what to do. Hit that bell. Thanks so much for watching the Jet Fuel Only channel. I'll see you next time.
obsessing over you.